Hi, everyone. Yeah, it's great to be back again for the second year in a row. My name is Daniel. I am a retina surgeon. That's my MD, and my PhD is in computer science and AI. I'm a professor in Duke NUS and also in Stanford University. So, for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm just going to share some of the observation that we've seen in the Gen AI space in the past 12 months and see how things has evolved and giving you some perspective from the lens of being a physician from the healthcare settings. These are some of my financial disclosure. We know chat has started from the version 3.5. Right now, we are at the 5.5 version. Many things have happened for the last 3 years. Same thing for Llama. Right now, we are at the 4.0 version. Gemini, we just heard a very great talk from Manny. And now, instead of just the 3.1 Pro, we are at the 3.5 version. And of course, last but not least, DeepSeek, we are currently in the version 5. And this is a very true slide that I want to share with everyone here. I see patients maybe 5 sessions a week, and for the last 12 to 18 months, we're starting to see more and more patients coming to the clinic with a few responses generated by the Gen AI engines. And some of them are currently asking you to give them a specific treatment, specific drugs for example, a condition like diabetic macular edema, which is a swelling at the back of the retina because of diabetes. Now, when I feed, what is the best treatment options for diabetic macular edema on the right-hand side? As you can see from the Claude, from the chat, from Gemini, the answers compared to 3 years ago when we see a huge risk and a huge rate of a hallucination rate, the answer is pretty correct. The answer is pretty accurate. What does this tell us? So now, the AI is getting smarter, and the patients is getting more health conscious, and they're getting cleverer as well. The second thing I want to talk about is a word called agentic AI. I'm sure a lot of you are the AI experts here, but for those layman clinicians, the patients maybe even, agentic simply means that the AI now has the capability to think and to do something like a human without much human oversight. That's what agentic AI in a very simplistic manner means. Now, this is a paper that we published in Nature Medicine, which is one of the best medical journals in the world, last year in October, highlighting some of the potential of agentic AI in electronic health records. So, what is EHR? When patients come to the clinic, when we start taking the histories, when we start examining them with your stethoscopes, with slit lamp, which is my profession, or when you actually do an ultrasound, all these findings you will actually type into the computer. Now, in the past, you'll be using your hands typing in the keyboard. But right now, we also see a lot of the ambient AI that they can capture the conversations between the doctors and the patients. So that's what we call the ambient AI. If you inject the AI into the medical imaging, you will now come across a term called a visual language model. So what does that mean? So visual language model is broken into 2 parts. The first part is on the medical imaging side, and the second part is to train the AI model to report the medical imaging. So just imagine that a radiologist having to sit in front of chest X-ray, first to interpret the X-ray, second, they will start needing to describe the organs, and whether or not it's normal or abnormal. If it's going to be abnormal, they're going to list down the reason as well as where exactly the location is. So that's what we call vision language model. As a surgeon myself, we are handling a bunch of surgical tools, and some of the specialty involve using the robots to operate. We also are now seeing more agentic AI system is being incorporated into the machines. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen how the human is dancing in the countdown night of the New Year's Eve in China. They're performing kung fus, but just using this analogy to look at how the robot is performing surgeries in the OR, operating room. No difference, okay? But of course, the risk is higher in stake and is, of course, much more complicated and much more complex. And drug discovery, I'm going to touch a little about that later. This is one of my colleagues in Stanford, Kurt. Kurt has this famous quote that was picked up by the Forbes just a few years ago. Someone asked him whether AI is ever going to replace radiologists. This is the answer that he's shown. AI would never replace radiologists, but the radiologist who embraces AI will replace those who do. Right? So that opens up three big questions now in the healthcare settings. I got a lot of existential questions being asked to me. Are you creating AI agents to replace us, right? A lot of my colleagues, in the healthcare settings, in the medical settings, not many physicians are AI trained. In the past, we're seeing more and more entering the medical school, right? So will AI replace us? In my personal opinion, it shouldn't be. Now, can AI democratize our knowledge? Can they actually make us work more efficiently? Instead of seeing 15, 20 different patients per day, per session, can I see more? Can I actually see 30, 40, or 50 patients? And the next question is, do I always have to stay in the clinic to see these patients? Or can I perhaps sit in the coffee shops and read my patient scan, or getting my AI agents to read the scan, then I'll have a look to see whether that's correct or wrong. AI is now transforming how we work in the hospital settings. Now, can AI make us smarter? I'm going to show you a few slides later. This is another paper that we've published just last month. In the medical space, we are currently very fearful about our next generation of the medical doctors that we are training. Everyone should be scared about this. Why? Everyone who sits in this hall would potentially fall sick at some point in your life. Maybe that could be 5, 10, or 20, 30, 40 years later. But when the moment that you fall sick and you step into the hospital and you're being seen by the doctors who are trained in the AI era, if today we don't train them well, disaster is going to happen in many years to come. So this is a very serious topic that is concerning every single medical educator, including myself. How should we train the physicians in the era of AI? Are we going to make them lose skills? This is what we call de-skilling. Are we going to make them to learn the wrong thing because of the hallucination that is generated by the Gen AI engines? That is what we call mis-skilling. Or are they getting lazier that they will rely on AI tool all the time because AI tool right now is getting so smart, so accurate. The risk of hallucination is so low. Now, are we putting them into taking things for granted, comfort zone? and resulting them never scaling. So this is what we call never scaling. So for people who are interested in this piece, this was in another piece in Nature Medicine, just published last month. We talk about medical innovations, and medical innovations transcend across therapeutics area, AI medical devices, biologics, genetics, and so on and so forth. Now, for any big, small pharmaceutical companies or startups or medical device companies, can we first use AI to find new molecules, new drugs, and to develop them and scaling them in a much faster speed, right? So come to our panel session. I'm going to ask that questions to Alex, who's standing right behind the audience. He will tell you the answer later. The second thing is, can we use AI to help us to find the right patients, to the right trial, to the right treatment? And can we predict the treatment response of a certain patient with a different baseline risk profiles? And as we treat the patients, can we continue to use AI to predict what is going to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months' time? This is how we are going to leverage on agentic AI to analyze the data using the temporal sequence data to help us to do dynamic prediction. It's not a cross-sectional, it's not a static prediction. It is going to be a dynamic prediction as time evolves, as the patient improves or as the patient deproves. Last but not least, I'm being invited to sit in quite a few pharmaceutical companies' advisory board. A lot of the questions right now is, do we buy or do we build? Is it cheaper to buy or is it cheaper to build? So those are the very strategic questions that is currently hitting many, many different companies, whether you are big or small. Now, if I'm the CEO of Eli Lilly, if I'm a CEO of a Roche company, the next question I have in mind is, how do I hire now? What is the hiring strategy to create the highest return of investment? We always say that AI would change the scope of what we do, and people would not lose jobs, or maybe people just have to pivot. But a lot of statistics recently has shown that is not the truth. Something that I come across recently, just maybe a few days ago. Q1 in 2026, there are already 200,000+ employees worldwide has lost their job because of AI. Now, the next question is, are we going to see more? We are not sure. Looking at the conversation and the presentation that Manny just showed in the Google slide just now, instead of using 10 or 15 or 20 different coders to do something, what we need to do in the past, if I can create a web page in 60 seconds or maybe a few minutes more, how is that going to impact the workforce? I think this is something that is not just relevant to the non-healthcare space, this is also relevant to the healthcare space. I haven't seen this term being talked a little. We are always say that we are currently in 4.0, but I disagree, and I think right now we are already in Industry Revolution 5.0, right? This is the 3 AI scientists that has been awarded the Nobel Prize award just 2 years ago. We know we are experiencing a highly intense global race. You can see a lot of the AI companies in the booth. Some of them are not here. Between the different technology companies, as well as between the different countries. I love this picture, by the way. The Indian AI Summit. Not sure whether how many of you have seen the middle picture. But anyway, we are spoiled with choices now as being a consumer AI user. We have the very big, very small AI models to use in the open source and the closed source manners. And we also are very troubled by the trends. Right now, we are at the super aging society. People are getting older. As you get older, you get more medical problems. And when you get more medical problems, you are going to use and you're going to consume, you're going to take more medications. Polypharmacy problem. And as you take more medications, then you would not adhere or you will not comply with the frequency of the medication that you're taking. And of course, with all these data points that's coming in, and with different electronic health records companies out there, a lot of the variables that you can see in the market, the data currently is sitting in many different silos. That is the big gap between the medical care, longevity, and the wellness care. And this is the paper published in Lancet, highlighting that the 10 top conditions that kill people is all listed on the right-hand side of the slides. Right? I mean, the first few, of course, is no others than ischemic heart problems, the stroke, and of course, COPD. And of course, as people get older, you will also face more with neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's condition. Singapore is being coined the blue zone of the world and one of the best world-class healthcare systems that we have. But having said that, we still have 10 years gap between the lifespan versus the health span. The health span definition, it simply means that the years that you are disease-free and with no any other comorbidities. Who has read this book in the audience? Raise your hand. Come on, outlive, lifespan. Who doesn't know who Brian Johnson is? Right. So right now, the healthy longevity space is being pushed by celebrities. And the big question is this only for the rich? How can we democratize this for the world? And these are some of the emerging longevity diagnostic tests that you've seen in the screen. The treatment that you can see on the screen. And this is one of the healthy aging framework that McKinsey has actually published in covering 6 different domains. Can agentic AI be a solution, which is what we talked about just then? This is the medical superintelligence, the term coined by the Microsoft team. And now AI is proven to be smarter than the physicians, 4 times higher the accuracy rate. And for physicians who use AI, it's already proven to be more effective and more accurate than those who do not, based on the other papers that's been published. This is a safer framework that is being published in the same paper that we published last year. And regardless of any AI tools that we use, we have to be safe and responsible. So this is one of the area that I want to talk a little in the last 1 minute. If you look at from the left-hand side to the right-hand side from the screen, this is how long the innovation journey is for any medical product innovation. This is what we call the journey to commercialization, and many people actually fall in the valley of death of this. This is some of the pipeline innovations of innovators. So for those who are founders, wannabe, come to speak to me after my talk. And these are some of the areas that you have to be very careful not to fall into. You have to find the product market fit. You have to know what exactly the inflection points is for your product. And you do have to recognize the geopolitical tension right now. So the market selection is very highly important and finding the right team. This is my last slide. So today, the last question that I would love to pose to the audience, if we have such advanced reasoning models, we have the agentic AI, and if I give you the different data from the different time points, and the imaging, and your genomics, and your microbiomes, can we get there in 10 years' time for medical superintelligence? With this, I thank you.